My name is Dr. Ben Bloomer, and I'm a licensed physical therapist in the state of Minnesota with Thrive Physical Therapy in Chanhassen. And for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last week, you may not have heard this, but Aaron Rodgers suffered a very significant injury last Sunday night against the Chicago Bears. It happened in the second quarter of the game. He took a blow directly on the outside of his left knee, causing his knee to buckle inward. Didn't look good for a while. He got carted off the field. Packers fans were saying their prayers. Looked like it was maybe going to be a torn ACL, out for the season. But lo and behold, miraculously, he comes back for the second half, lights it up, and brings the Packers back. Amazing comeback win. Packers won over the Bears. Now, I'm a huge Minnesota Vikings fan, so I'm going to present this to you as objectively and unbiased as I possibly can. But the big news this week is whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to play this Sunday against the Vikings. And here's what I can tell you with my expertise and with my knowledge. First of all, the question would be, what exactly is he dealing with? What did he injure? Now, on Wednesday, Rodgers admitted that he sprained his knee. Now, sprain occurs when there's an injury to a ligament. And in the knee, there's four major ligaments, the ACL, PCL, MCL, LCL. And based on the direction of the injury, I'll use this model here for example. This would be a right knee, so sitting on me like so, but you'll still get the idea. It's Rodgers' left knee. Now, he took a shot or took an injury inwardly. Helmet came from the outside to the inside, causing his knee to essentially do this. And as you can see, the structure right here is the MCL, the medial collateral ligament, getting overstretched. Now, if that injury or if that blow to the knee was severe enough, that ligament could get stretched so far that it could tear. That type of a blow or that type of a hit to the knee could also potentially damage some other important structures like the ACL or the meniscus. But by all accounts, he likely sprained or overstretched this ligament, the MCL, right here, which helps to stabilize the outer part of the knee. And that brings me to the first picture, and you can see the injury here. If you take a look at the direction of the blow from the Bears player onto Rodgers' knee. So you can see that in that picture there, that blow coming from the outside to the inside part of his knee. If you take a look at the second picture now, here we're looking at some of the important structures within the knee and a more detailed diagram of what he's dealing with there. You can also see in this picture underneath Rodgers' green sock, you can see the small brace that he was wearing to help protect his knee for the second half. Now, another big question that I'd have here is, what else might be going on in his knee? If you take a look at this next picture I'm going to bring up right now, you can see in both of these pictures that Rodgers is reaching down and grabbing at the outside of his knee. Now, that's not where the MCL is. In fact, that's where somebody would grab maybe if they had some damage to their meniscus, possibly some damage to their LCL. So I'd be concerned as, what else might be going on in his knee other than just an MCL sprain? Or is it just a coincidence he might be reaching for that outer part of his knee just because, the whole knee hurts? So, some people have asked me this week, give me an example of when another NFL quarterback has dealt with a knee sprain. And it took me a little bit to think of some examples, and I dug back in the archives a little bit, and I found two. First of all, Joe Flacco back in December of 2013 was playing against the Lions. I'm going to pull up this picture here now. As you can see in this picture, you'll see the Lions player going in a very similar direction at Flacco's knee as the Bears player did to Rodgers' knee. Same exact mechanism of injury. Joe Flacco was diagnosed with an MCL sprain, and he actually did suit up about a week later. Playoffs were on the line, the season was on the line, but he played terribly and got blown out 41-7 by the Patriots, so that was not good. Another example I found was Robert Griffin III, his rookie year in December of 2012, sprained the LCL in his knee, and then he wore a brace, came back, played the rest of the season, but just a few weeks later in January, even with a hefty brace on, I'm going to pull up this last picture here, he suffered this non-contact injury, even with wearing this big, hefty brace on his knee, caused his knee to buckle, and actually did end up tearing his ACL, and he really was not ever the same player ever again his entire career. So the final question overall is, will Rodgers play? Now, if it's just a simple MCL sprain, he's looking at, maybe healing time of about a week to 4 weeks. The MCL does have the ability to heal on its own, even if it's torn, compared to the ACL, which oftentimes, as you all know, requires surgery. So he's looking at least a few weeks of healing time. He's doing a lot of physical therapy, a lot of rehab, a lot of treatment. He might play with a brace on. However, as you can see in some previous examples, even with a knee brace, he's still at risk for furthering this injury and possibly causing long-term damage. Overall, there's a lot on the line this weekend. Division game for two teams competing for the division, competing for a Super Bowl. Rodgers also has revenge on his mind from the injury he sustained last year by the hands of Anthony Barr against the Vikings. So I do think, with those things in mind, I do think Rodgers is going to try to play. But don't be surprised if he's not looking quite right, if he takes a few hits early on. Don't be surprised if Coach Mike McCarthy pulls him out of there. Very similar to when the Vikings trotted out Sam Bradford last year against the Bears. Didn't look quite right, got yanked in the second quarter. Don't be surprised if that ends up happening. And in fact, if it were me, if I were a Packers fan, in all honesty, I wouldn't want Rodgers to suit up this week. It's a long season ahead. Give him at least a week or two to heal, recover. They do play the Vikings again later in November. Let it heal, rest for another week or two, especially going up against this Vikings defense where he might injure it even worse. That's all for this week. We'll find out if my predictions are accurate or if they're true. Time will tell. And Skol Vikes.